Well, welcome everybody. Just want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. My name is Albert Olson. I'll be your host today for our online Franciscan Spiritualist Church service. Lots of people ask us, why do you call your church the Franciscan Spiritualist Church? Well, that's because Malcolm and I, when we started this church, we're looking for a way to describe what our philosophy would be. And we were both really taken with the philosophy of St. Francis of Assisi, in particular, the idea of service and of putting others before self. So we are a spiritualist church, but if you want to, you can go to our website and check out our beliefs. And that's the philosophy that we take here. It's my great pleasure to share this service with my very good friend and mentor, Reverend Malcolm Gloucester, and today's special guest officiant, Reverend Stephen Hermann. Today is our 28th church service. Our podcast, as of this morning, is now at 1,326. And so we're very proud of that. Today, we're trying something very new, which is we're going to broadcast the service live on Facebook. So if you prefer not to have your image shown on Facebook, I would suggest that you might want to consider turning your video off and just joining us with your picture or a blank screen in front. All right. During today's service today, we encourage you to pray to the God of your understanding. We believe that there are many roads to salvation and that we are all on our own personal spiritual journey. Also, during the songs, please feel free to sing along just as loudly as you like, as long as your mic is muted. This will allow the podcast to be of highest quality. I'd like to now call on Reverend Malcolm Gloucester, first of all, to introduce our opening song, which is OCM, and then we'll play the song, Malcolm, and then we'll follow it with your opening prayer. Is that okay with you?
Okay. OCM is a Halkominum phrase. Halkominum is the local First Nations language in this area, and they're Cowichan tribes. And in Halkominum, OCM means "O respected one." And if you were speaking to the elders, you would begin OCM, OCA, or something like that. So this song was I think written and certainly introduced by Susan Glutark, who's actually Eskimo. And she went to Cowichan and asked their permission to use the words OCM. So I feel a kind of personal connection to it. It actually was a hit song way back when. It was actually on the hit parade. But it is what it says, OCM, O respected one. And then OCA is the plural of that, is respected ones. Thanks, Al.
Yeah, well, thanks, Malcolm. And, the other thing just about this song is it really does stress the idea that we are all family, that we are all one.
Yeah.
And that's why we choose to play it, because that's one of our beliefs for our church.
Yeah.
So here's Susan Glutark, OCM.
OCM, we are all family. OCM, we're all the same. OCM, the fires of freedom, dance in the burning flame. Sing OCM, all people rich and full. Sing OCM, those who do and do not know. Sing OCM, take the hand of one close by. Sing OCM, of those who know because they
Thank you. Malcolm, over to you for the opening prayer.
Thanks, Al. First of all, can everyone hear me okay? Just give me a thumbs up, please. Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad that we've come together. I love that song, We're All Family. I just think it's so important that you lovely people understand that you honor us by joining our service. And you're literally from all over the world, and it's quite exciting. But we are all family. The last week was full of a lot of, I'm going to say doom and gloom. That's not quite right, but there were very challenging reports on COVID. It was Remembrance Day, which dealt with all the people who've passed away. So at the request of one of our congregation, I want at least this opening prayer to be more cheerful. So please join me in prayer to the God of your understanding. Before we begin, I want to tell you something that I learned this week. This, if you can see what I'm doing, means I'm giving you a hug. So I just wanted everyone to have a hug from me for joining us this morning. Big hug. We're old dogs, Bruce, but we can learn. Okay, so please join me in prayer to the God of your understanding. Creator, Great Spirit, God of all things, God all around us. We thank you today for all the things in our lives, especially for our senses. We thank you for the gift of sight so that we can see our loved ones, our family and friends, so that we can see the scenery, mountains, valleys, lakes, rivers, and oceans, and so that we can see the beauty of nature, flowers, plants, trees, and especially the beautiful animals, birds, and other creatures. We thank you for the gift of hearing, so that we may hear the voices of others and the laughter of children. The wonderful music that is out there, solos, bands, great orchestras. And sometimes, as Gordon has taught us, the sound of silence. We thank you for the gifts of taste, smell, and touch. The taste of great food and drink, the smell of fresh coffee, or of the forest after rain, and for the touch of a loving hand. All these are wonderful gifts, and we thank you for each and every one, and humbly pray that you help us to incorporate them into our daily lives. Amen.
Thank you, Malcolm. Today's theme songs, in our service, we often, instead of having a reading, we'll pick a couple of songs to sort of carry our message. And today's themes is really the idea of trying to stress the symbolism of our life as a garden. And the idea came to me because Stephen had requested the second song, which is In the Garden. And so I decided that this first song that we would play is the Garden Song. As you listen to this song, imagine when the singer is singing that it is really your voice. And then when you sing about the garden, you are referring to the spiritual growth in your life. So here we go, the Garden Song.
Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain come tumbling down. pulling weeds, picking stones. We are made of dreams and bones. Feel the need to grow my own, for the time is close at hand. Grain for grain, sun and rain, find my way in nature's chain. Tune my body and my brain to the music of the land. Inch by inch, row by row, inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. Plant your rows straight and long, seasoned with a prayer and song. Mother Earth will make you strong if you give her love and care. There's an old crow watching hungrily from his perch on yonder tree. In my garden I'm as free as that feathered thief up there. Inch by inch, row by row, inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain come tumbling down. One more time, inch by inch, inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warn them from below till the rain comes tumbling down.
Well, I'd now like to introduce our special guest today. It's a great honor for us to have Reverend Stephen Hermann here today. Stephen is a world-class, famous medium with incredible talent, a featured personality on many television and radio shows worldwide. Stephen's mediumship has been documented by the Associated Press and other news media. He's a former research medium for the University of Virginia. Stephen's written some really amazing books, and I know that when I was first starting out, I found his book to be one of the very best books that I read on how to improve my mediumship. And if you go to my website, it's one of my books that I highly recommend there. So for me, it's quite an honor to have him here. His book is called Mediumship Mastery, The Mechanics of Receiving Spirit Communications. And what I really like about your book, Stephen, is that it is really practical and it really helps people in their development. Often, a lot of the medium books are sort of a autobiography, in many cases, telling people sort of stories and growth. But in yours, I really found inspiration to become a better medium. So over to you, Stephen, and welcome for the address.
All right, well, thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And I'm actually a day ahead of all of you because I'm in New Zealand right now and it's Monday. It's like 8 in the morning. So I'm literally a whole day ahead of West Coast time. But it's actually really good because it doesn't matter what time zone that you might be in. When you connect with the world of spirit, they can connect with you, can't they? And of course, sometimes people wonder, well, where is the afterlife, right? Where's the spirit world? And where is the spirit world? The spirit world is literally all around us, isn't it? And what really, how do they connect with us? Well, they connect with us mind to mind communication and telepathically. So we have the speed of sound, which is pretty fast. We have the speed of light, which is even faster. But beyond that is the speed of thought. So it's not as if the individuals who are connected to you in the world of the spirit have to be with you right there within your physical proximity every single moment. Because if you're having some type of difficulty, some type of situation in your life which is a challenge, they are tuned in and they know what's going on in your life. So it's not like they're stalking you, but they're around you. And what's nice about spiritualism is it really helps us understand and cultivate the gifts of the spirit and open up to these abilities. And sometimes people really get into mediumship. They're fascinated by it. They get addicted to it. And of course, unlike certain types of substances, there's no harmful side effects with mediumship. It's something that will literally enhance your life for the better. But mediumship within itself isn't something which is necessarily even spiritual. Someone will sit in the group, oh, I'm developing clairvoyance, and I can see all these deceased people. I get all these images in my head. And that's great. I can levitate to the ceiling. But just because someone has some type of mystic powers, it doesn't make them a godly individual, does it? So we just sang that nice song. I really like that song. I think I wrote that years ago, a little kid song. Planting your little garden and making sure it grows. That's what every single one of us is doing every single moment. Can you believe that? Now, your garden might have a lot of beautiful flowers in it, or through your own negligence, it may have a lot of weeds. And I think with most people, there's a little bit of both. But we understand the higher teachings from the world of spirit. And we understand that every one of us, we're the captain of our own ships. And the people who really are concerned about us in the spirit world, we have our guardians, and of course we have loved ones, we have others. They've kicked the bucket, they've passed over into the world of spirit, and they know what's going on in your life. You might not like that, but they do. But they're concerned, and they want to try to influence us to the best of their ability and to the best of our ability to be able to receive that. So we can see that even though they're going to try to influence us, we're the ones in charge of what takes place within our own life. So someone might go to a medium and they have this whole list of everything they want to know, every single individual they want to hear from. But that's not how it works when it comes to spirit communication, because the spirit world, they set the agenda and they are able to see the larger picture in your life. So it's not as if they want to emphasize the negative things or they want to focus in on areas that we don't want to hear about, but they want to help us to weed out all of those things, all of this qualities that are really not the best qualities. They want to help to inspire us, to give us the support that we need to really cultivate a garden with beautiful flowers and colors. And of course, when we go into the world of the spirit, we're so conditioned in functioning through our 5 physical senses. We can see things, we can hear things here in this physical world, but those physical senses are designed for this material environment. So naturally, when we go to the spirit world, what are we functioning through? We're functioning through our spirit body. And of course, we have the subtle body, which interpenetrates our physical body in the present. But we see as we age, people, they end up not being able to read so well, see things close up. Maybe they lose the sense of their taste. All these senses that maybe are very strong when someone's young, it deteriorates with physical age. The physical body naturally deteriorates. And yet the personality continues. And of course, if I was really psychic, I could make a prediction. And I could say to every single one of you, quite accurately, you're all going to kick the bucket. Hopefully not this week on Thursday at 4:30, but every one of us, we're going to pass over. So we see people pass into the spirit world. And what happens? They leave this garden that's incomplete, oftentimes with a lot of weeds. And to the extent that there's weeds in your garden after you leave this physical world, that's troubling. It's very, very, very disturbing. It might not be disturbing at the time you leave or before that. Even after you go to the spirit world initially, you may think, oh, I'm glad I'm over with that. And yet, all of those weeds go with you. It's very bad. You might need some type of really intense, toxic, hopefully organic weed killer to eliminate them. But you see, that's what we want to do while we're here in the present. You know, you go to a medium. What's the real information that's going to be of value? It's information that's going to help you identify what your faults might be, what your areas of concern, challenges, defects might really be. And how do I go about working on those things? How do I get to become a better person, a moral person, a loving person, a selfless individual? You know, we have the prayer of St. Francis, right? Make me an instrument of thy peace. Make me an instrument of light for God to work through. And this really is what it's about. So someone goes to the spirit world and they may just think, I don't have to do any work. They've just spent their, and basically it's like they've wasted their whole life in some cases, literally, you know, very little progress. And they go there and they get in touch with higher personalities, right? Individuals in the spirit world who've worked on themselves, you know, and they're able to really assess the person who's gone to the spirit world, and they're able to help that person therapeutically. Someone needs 40 years of psychotherapy and they never get it. You know, all these issues. How many of you have issues? How many of you are dysfunctional? Hopefully not too bad. But, you know, you want to work on those things now. It may be very, very, very challenging. It may be so difficult. One of my friends, when she was quite young, she actually suffered severe physical abuse from people within her family, really severe. So it totally messed up her life. And when someone suffers trauma, oftentimes, what do? Well, they just dissociate. They don't necessarily deal with it because it helps with them at the time to survive whatever might be taking place. So at this moment, you know, she's been working on herself. She's been receiving therapy, and all these painful recollections are coming back. You know, extreme anger, all these mixed emotions, a lot of flashbacks taking place, just like someone's in combat, right? They're in the military. They go into a war situation, killing, horrible things happening. And that's post-traumatic stress syndrome, we say in this contemporary age. So how do we handle those types of things? Hopefully therapeutically. But when you go to the spirit world, if you haven't worked on your trauma, and not just the severe type of trauma, but if you haven't really worked on healing yourself, on loving yourself, you're going to have to do that. But even worse, even more severe, if you haven't really been living a life that's godly, really allowing yourself to treat others in the manner that you'd like to be treated, and really living according to higher principles, if you've caused any type of pain toward others, all of those things are going to have to be addressed. And of course, there's therapists in the spirit world. There's healers who have such compassion in their hearts. Why do you think they're motivated to connect with us? They're motivated to connect with you as an individual because they care about you, because they love you. And you may have a very dysfunctional aunt who you hate her guts, literally. Then you go to the medium and she's the person who steps in. I remember one time in North London, I had this one guy who came for a session and he goes, my gosh, that's my aunt. What's she doing here? So it's not always the four people that you would expect to come through from the spirit world. And I found in my own experience over the years that oftentimes the people who are coming through to us from the spirit world, sometimes the session's more for them, isn't it? Right? It helps them with their soul growth. Because if you don't work on yourself while you're here, if you don't do your best to try to weed all those weeds out, Now, there may be still some more weeds that come in, but as you develop greater self-mastery, as you really start to work on yourself more, you're going to get the guidance from God. You're going to get the inspiration from God. And you're going to better learn how to live your life according to God's laws. And do you think that God's laws are disharmonious? No, they're not, because there's intelligence behind everything. There's personality behind everything. There's a higher purpose behind everything. So we can live a very superficial life if we want. We can live a very shallow life, or we can live a life of great significance and meaning, not just in terms of how we grow ourselves, but how we impact others around us. And the spirit people, they're a thought away, literally. They know what's going on in your life. They know what your concerns are, what your burden is. And they're not going to necessarily take away those burdens, because we have to learn. We have to go through different types of situations here in this physical plane in life. But we have to remember that even though we were in these physical bodies, these temporary physical vehicles, there's a higher purpose to life. You know, we go to the spirit world. All these people are there. And so many of these individuals in the world of the spirit are around us. They're drawn to us. And we certainly have loved ones and others who may have been biologically connected to us, acquainted with us in some capacity. But they're attracted to us, right? The energy that we're putting out. When there's the need, those in the world of spirit are directed to assist, right? God sends his angelic ones, his beings of light to help others. And of course, when you start to work on yourself, right, you start to pray, you start to meditate, you start to open up, what happens? Your energy field reflects that beautiful light within your heart, right? Make me an instrument of your peace. And God works through you, right? God sends, directs those in the world of the spirit to work through us, right? What do we teach in spiritualism? The gifts of the spirit, right? Great. Master Jesus taught, greater things than I you can do. So we have a big garden to work on, and it might be really overflowing, you know, it's not doing so well. You know, I remember going back, this must have been a good 20, 25 years ago. They used to have, I grew up in Massachusetts, so I lived there for quite a long time. And a lot of agriculture there. So they would have these community shared agriculture, CSA. Does anyone have those? I mean, they're really good, right? Because it'll be a farm, you know, you go there every week for a share of it. And it's really neat stuff. I mean, some weeks you might get more eggplant than another week, you know, depending on what's in season. But you see, every one of us can cultivate these qualities. It's infinite, and the light from the spirit is infinite. It will touch your life, it will improve your life, but will also touch those around you. And we see that the best, most efficient instruments for the spirit world are the individuals who literally go through the most hell in their own life. So, you know, the material world isn't really our real home. It's kind of like a motel. You know, you go there for a certain period of time, but you really don't want to be too attached to staying there. The higher spirits, they want to help us with our situations in our physical plane life. But as they help us, they're also going to assist you to get in touch with your spiritual gifts. And in doing so, not just help you, but enable you to be a vehicle to help those around and about you. Spiritualism is such a wonderful philosophy. It is a philosophy that will literally alter your consciousness, transform your mindset for the better if you open up to it and allow it. Every single one of you have different spiritual gifts. And having spiritual gifts, you know, being a medium or being clairvoyant, that's not spiritual within itself. But ultimately, if you utilize the gifts of the spirit to touch others and to be an instrument for the higher spirits. That's really what you want to be able to do. You know, we have all these things around us we have to work on. But the spirit people, the individuals in the spirit world, they know what we need to work on. And they will put so much effort into getting close to us, into inspiring us, and to helping us with the path that we're on in our physical plane life. So I want to encourage all of you, try to go to as many of these spiritualist meetings as possible. Study mediumship, not because you want your own cable TV show or you want to impress people at cocktail parties or something. That's not what mediumship is about. It's really on a much deeper level. It's not just about, oh, I've got to prove survival to people. That's not what mediumship is about. Mediumship is about love. Mediumship is about making people aware that they are eternal, that they're divine spirit, and that no matter how weedy their individual personal garden gets, God's love is so immense and so powerful that it can greatly assist them within that process. So may God bless each and every one of you.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen. That was really awesome. We're now going to play our second theme song today, and that's one that Stephen requested himself, In the Garden. Stephen, do you want to speak to the song before we play it, or should I just go ahead?
Oh, I just really like In the Garden. It's a really cool song. I remember going to spiritualist churches, centuries ago. And that song, I just really love it. It's really good, moderate tone, but it gets the energy up. And the message is
here we
very
go.
nice.
In the Garden, sung by Alan Jackson.
I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses, and he walks with me and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around me is falling, but he bids me go through the voice of hope. His voice to me is calling, and he walks with me and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
Well, I'd like to now ask Reverend Stephen Hermann if he'd like to give today's healing prayer. Stephen, just so you know, typically what we do in this session is we'll start with a prayer, and then we're going to play a healing song. In this case, it'll be the prayer of St. Francis. And while the song is playing, we encourage people to send thoughts of love and healing to those that they would like to through chat. So over to you.
All right, well, let us pray. Divine Spirit, God, we ask for light. We ask for healing for ourselves. We also ask for healing for all of those within our prayers and within our thoughts at a distance. We ask that those spirit healers and doctors, that they join with us. We ask that we open up the spiritual light within our own hearts to be utilized as channels for the light to work through. And we express our gratitude for the healing energy that's generated and that is also going out during this service. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. So during the healing song, we invite you to open your chat and to share with everyone who would like to send loving and healing thoughts to today. Today's healing song is the prayer of St. Francis.
Make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your pardon, Lord. And where there's doubt, true faith in you. Make me a channel of your peace. Where there's despair in life, let me bring hope. Where there is darkness, only light. And where there's sadness, ever joy. Oh, Master, grant that I may never see so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love with all my soul. Make me a channel of your peace. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned, in giving of ourselves that we receive, and in dying that we're born to eternal life. Oh, Master, grant that I may never see so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love with all my soul. Make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your pardon, Lord. And where there's doubt, true faith in you.
The next section of today's service will be focused on mediumship. Stephen will be doing the readings today. As spiritualists, we believe in life after death and that we can communicate with spirits from the other side in order to promote healing for those on this side and for those that have passed on. We give a demonstration of mediumship each service to emphasize this belief. Today, during the service, Stephen will only be able to give 2 readings, but we do have an open mic session after the service is over, and I'm hoping that Stephen will be able to join us at least for a little while. And also, if you feel a sense that you have a spirit coming through and you would like to give a reading or to receive a message, stick around for the open mic and we will do our very best to accommodate you. It's also an opportunity to ask questions of Stephen or anyone else in the church for that matter, or just to have a friendly chat. So having said that, are you ready to go, Stephen?
Yeah, if you could just make it where it has all the squares.
Yep.
Get rid of the
Just
order
a
of
second.
service thing. That way I can see everybody all at once.
Yes, there you go.
Oh, okay, very good. Perfect. Okay. So once again, good morning.
Good morning.
It's really a great blessing to be here. So if I do come to you, I'd like to be able to hear the sound of your voice. You don't just want to sit there and be lethargic because you're not dead yet, are you? Okay. You know, I'm just going to see where they want me to actually go because there's a lot of spirits here. And okay, gosh. All right, well, you know, I'm actually going to start out. I'm actually Malcolm. I'd like to start out with you, actually, if I could. May I come to you, please?
Yes, thank you very much.
God bless you, because I really feel there's a lady that comes in here from a spirit, and there's a gentleman that comes through here from the world of the spirit. And there's a term which is, sometimes people will say that someone's like an armchair general. The gentleman that I'm describing here, he's sitting in an armchair, but I can tell you he is not armchair. I mean, he might not have the physical mobility as I sense him older, but he is dead set on saying exactly what he thinks, and he's opinionated about it. You know, sometimes we're not supposed to talk about religion or politics. This guy will say what he thinks. Now, you don't have to agree with it. He could be supportive of some very unpopular politician. He's not going to care what anyone else thinks. And he shows me their political types of buttons, you know, like, and I just want to talk about, you know, political campaigns with this going back. This gentleman, because he comes in with a lady from the world of spirit. She seemed to have been very involved in this. Unlike, she's on the petite side. Unlike him, she keeps her opinions to herself. You know, she's there to support people. She's there to support the process. This gentleman, he puts his 2 cents in, and really, he's very strong. You know, quite fatherly with the personality as he comes through here. And I'm feeling this uniform too. I mean, it's got to be pressed the right way. It's got to have all the little medals or little designations here correctly. And I feel if I were subordinate to him, I would have to really make sure that he, you know, that I know that I put it out there that I'm subordinate. And even if he's not in the military later on, it's that whole attitude. I mean, I just feel that I could be in a restaurant and maybe it's very, very, very busy, and he's, you know, he has to wait 20 minutes till the waiter comes. He's going to really make it into a big deal in front of everyone. I mean, he'll let me know, and he'll let me know later on with a tip too at the end. And it's funny because he's giving me all this change as he comes through here. I mean, this gentleman, he's very, 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 it's not that he has a lot of money, but I just sense him as being very, very, very frugal. Now, you're very, very, very generous. And I want to just say, sir, that I just feel like if I needed it and I was really in a state where, you know, materially we didn't have it, you'd make sure that I did. Now, you might not be the one who gets it out of your own pocket, but you're going to get it. You're going to make the arrangements, so to speak. William or Bill is a very common name, but that name is also the Will Bill part is being spelled over your head. And it's funny because I feel like there's a loss of oxygen here. And there's a gentleman that also comes through here from the world spirit. He liked fast cars. He liked everything fast, but he also liked fast aviation. You know, it's certainly a military, you know, it's a jet. It's really pretty contemporary. I mean, I'm not going that far back with this memory here. And it's funny because I feel he was very interested in, you know, they have NASA, they have the space exploration, all that. He was interested in stuff like that. He's got a mind like an engineer. Now, he's not, surprisingly, for someone like an engineer, analytically oriented, he's not closed off to spirituality. He's not closed off to what we're doing here right now. And I do feel here that because he's showing me all these different like Air Force types of jets and things of this sort here. And I just want to say that literally, you're going forward and things are taking off for you. What you're beginning here right now, and what you've begun, what you're putting energy into right now in your own physical and life, I can guarantee you, sir, 30 years from now, you're probably going to be coming through me in trance or something, or you'll be coming through someone else. What you're doing now, you're going to be continuing all of this, is what I'm being shown. And the older gentleman says he would not understand this, nor would the woman.
True. That's true.
This gentleman, I'm hearing the term old soldiers never die. And he's giving me memories. It's very muddy and swampy, and the flies are this big. And I just want to say here, we have the COVID, but I also want to talk about it's a very yucky environment. I feel I don't know if it's necessarily malaria, but I want to be concerned about other types of diseases. The people, not the enemy killing us, but the diseases killing us with the memories I'm getting here. And he says, wipe your boots off and don't get the mud on your pants, the lower part of your pants from the shoes. He's very concerned about that. You make sure. So I'm going to leave you with all of that, sir, and say, God bless you. And where do I want to go? I've got to go. Let me just see where they want me to direct me. I'm going to go to this gentleman named Bruce. May I come to you, sir? I like to pick on men because it's usually all women. So, may I come to you, Bruce? Let me hear your voice, please.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Can I hear you? Say it again.
Can you hear me?
I think I can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the big thing is, can I hear spirit? Because I don't have any notes to look at. I'm feeling here all the energy right around the air of my throat. And it's funny because I've got a man coming through here from Spirit who I'll describe in a moment, but I also have someone who, you have a group of people that are working with you with your own mediumship, one in particular that steps in here. Now, you're the real thing. Don't let anyone else who doubts how authentic it is tell you otherwise, because what you're starting to experience, it's only just the beginning, and they're going to be coming through you. The problem is you're dealing with people who are very, 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 very superficial with how they go about their mediumship. Now, they're not bad people or something, but they're really not that educated about it. They're not exposed to how they're going to be working with you. And I really want to say here is that, it's just because someone can bring through some deceased loved ones does not make them advanced. It does not make them knowledgeable about this stuff. So on a physical plane level, I do feel you. I just feel like I'm going to have to talk to teachers. I'm going to have to connect with people, and they're very much at a distance than you, but they're going to be very supportive with this. And you need to work with this more. It's like more advanced work. And I want to emphasize the advanced stuff, not for your ego, but because you've gone past that stage. And it's funny because I feel like I'm getting nauseous and simultaneously dizzy at the same time. So, and there's someone who comes in here a lady that comes in here from Spirit that works with you, that worked with this. And, she feels very diabetic too. She's quite on the heavier side. And she has absolutely, when she was here, no clue about taking care of her own physical health, all of these things related to her mediumship. You, sir, have a very good understanding. Someone around you, it's soft drinks, it's soda, and they're just drinking way too much. I feel like I want to go into the fridge, I want to dump it all out. So when we talk about diabetic conditions, that's probably the worst thing you can do. And you can tell someone that, and you can love them greatly. Problem is, they're not listening to you. And they're just saying here that I feel like I just want to take the whole 6-pack of these big boxes of the soda stuff and just dump it, literally. Now, they're writing the word doctor over your head. So I'm not sure what your qualifications are when it comes to the healing aspect. But I just want to say here that what you're taking in, the spirits are working with you to enhance others. And we talk about healing. It's not just hands-on healing. It has to do more with lifestyle types of changes and adjustments that people can make. And I feel very, very, very good with this. Now, there's a gentleman that comes through here from the world of spirit that's different than these people who are guides or helpers that I have been describing. And he says, when he was here, if he were here, he would not really understand what you're into. He would think it's a complete bunch of rubbish. And he would tell you this. He would just think these people were really messed up. He's also someone very opinionated. And it's funny because, you know, it's like someone who goes to a movie and they never really watch it and then they condemn it. You know, he's like that. And I just feel like I could be dating some nice girl. He would just say all these bad things about her. He doesn't even know her. Maybe she's really a nice person, you see? And I just feel as he comes in here, I'm smelling this cologne, and he's trying to make himself look very, 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 very sharp. You know, I feel almost like I'm stealing other people's pickup lines. Or, you know, if I'm going to take someone on a date, what worked for them? You know, what do I say? How do I say it? Where do I go? He's really overthinks it too much. And he just thought, because I get memories of him in a church situation, and he's bored out of his mind. He's looking at girls there. He's looking at women there. He's always into women. And he's not very good. Also, the name of Ed, that name is also being written out here from the world of spirit. And I feel the gentleman that I am describing here, he comes in here, he gives me anniversaries around Valentine's Day here as well, interestingly enough. I also want to go into the month of April as well. And I just want to say here, by the time you get into April, sir, I do want to say here that you're going to see more progress in terms of your own spiritual, how they're working with you mediumistically. And I just feel like you're going to have to kind of cut the connections here, make an adjustment here as to who you're working with. And I will not cast pearls before swine. You know, if they're not appreciative, if they're not, because there's criticism that's going to be coming toward what you're doing. And it's really, it comes out of enviousness. So that's not a good group for you to be involved, is the sense I'm feeling here. Also, there's a man quite fatherly who comes through, very safe, very secure. And it's interesting because I feel like I don't have a head, you know, whoever I'm describing here. But I just want to say he did very much have a head. You know, so physically how he passed might have not been so good. We've talked about the head. But in terms of assessment, you know, who needs to be fired, who's not putting in their energy, I trust this man's decisions completely. He was like an engineer. He would not, even atheistic, but now that he's in spirit, he says, I am behind you 100, if not 1000%. And he's into numbers. He's giving me percentages. He's giving me, you know, like that, all these statistics of different factual types of things. You know, this mountain is this high, the ocean is this. He knows all that stuff. And he wants to travel with you. But he is traveling you through in terms of your own development here. Your chemistry, you know, when we talk about healing, it's very much all taking place through here. But I do want to talk about the soda part. That needs to, you know, I just feel you need to start intervening more in other people's lives to help them, because they won't do it themselves. So I'm going to leave you with all of that. And I'm going to say, God bless you. And I think you just want me to work with two, right, Albert? I can't hear you because you're muted.
Oh yeah,
He gets the best of us, you know.
That's what happens. Did you just want me to work with two people, or?
Yeah, for now during the service. But if you're available
Okay.
to stay for the open mic, that would be great.
Okay.
Perfect.
I've spent a little longer with those people than I normally would, but.
Well, no,
Thank
we
you.
really appreciate it, and well done, Stephen. So
This
here's
is such a
Reverend
nice
Malcolm
group. I'm
Gloucester.
really happy to be here. You know, it's such a blessing to be here. And I think what you're doing, Albert, is awesome. So keep it up.
Great, thank you very much. So here's Reverend Malcolm Gloucester to give today's closing prayer.
Well, I got to talk to the Rev before I do that, from one Rev to another. Thank you so much for joining us, Steve. Your sincerity is just bursting out of your ears. You're a lovely man, and thank you for sharing your wisdoms and your gifts with us. What is fascinating to me, with my limited intuitive skills, is I'm damn sure that you are a Franciscan too. You're familiar with the prayer. You quote it, and it just feels like you're one of us. So, in very humble terms, I'd like to say, anytime you want to come back, whether you're in New Zealand or Aklavik, I don't care. Please come back and join
Oh,
us.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm all over. So,
Okay, so I have used this book once or twice. It fascinates me. It is called Anam Cara, which is Gaelic for dear spirit. And it's written by John O'Donoghue, who is unfortunately now dead. And he was a Roman Catholic priest, and he resigned from the priesthood so that he could write. I think it is not that he stopped being a priest, but he wanted to give himself the liberty of saying what he wanted to say. He was Irish like me, and he, I think, unlike me, he actually speaks to himself in Gaelic and then translates it into English. So to close today's service, I would like to read this blessing, which I think he wrote, I believe he wrote. So this is from John O'Donoghue's book, Anam Cara, which is often translated as soulmate. May the light of your soul guide you. May the light of your soul bless the work you do with the secret love and warmth of your heart. May you see in what you do the beauty of your own soul. May the sacredness of your work bring healing, light, and renewal to those who work with you and to those who see and receive your work. May your work never weary you. May it release within you well springs of refreshment, inspiration, and excitement. May you be present in what you do. May you never become lost in the bland absences. May the days never harden. May dawn find you awake and alert, approaching your new day with dreams, possibilities, and promises. May evening find you gracious and fulfilled. And may you go into the night blessed, sheltered, and protected. May your soul calm, console, and renew you. Amen. Al, you're muted.
Thank you, Malcolm. Really appreciate that. Now, if you would all please mute yourself and sing as loudly as you'd like for our final song, which is Let There Be Peace on Earth. We invite you to stay afterwards for a chat or an opportunity to ask questions, to share your reflections, or an opportunity to do more mediumship. Here is Let There Be Peace on Earth.
Let
Well, thank you everybody for coming and joining us for our service today. Thank you, Malcolm, and especially warm welcome and thank you, and making this a very special session for all of us. Stephen, we really appreciate all the things that you've done, and I'd like to echo Malcolm's invitation to return whenever you feel that you would like to. We always have a place in our circle for you. So for those of you who are listening on the podcast now, I would like to ask you to have a great week and to stay healthy, and hopefully you can join us again next week. For those of you who are staying behind for the open mic, hang on just a second. Okay, well, here we go. Welcome to the open mic. This is a good opportunity, I think, to go to gallery view if you haven't already, to see who's still here. Stephen, how do you feel? Do you want to field some questions? Do you want to have some mediumship
Yeah,
that
actually,
you're
because I'm really
like to
into the
do, or
educational part, maybe we could have some questions. Now, I know I do have to do some work, like maybe in the next 20, 25 minutes, but we'll see what happens, because sometimes that, it's a little flexible with that. So I can
okay?
just pay attention. So if I leave, that's why. But I'm happy to, if people have questions about this stuff, and because I'm
Sure.
really into the
Can you
teaching
see
stuff.
everybody on the screen at the moment,
I
Stephen?
can, which makes it a
Okay,
lot
so if you have
easier.
a question, maybe just tap your forehead. Stephen can see that, and he can call on you, and we'll proceed that way.
Don't be shy.
Well, Stephen, I have a question for you.
Okay.
I really enjoyed your book so very much. I'm just wondering, are you working on another one at the moment?
Yeah, I have actually. I mean, my graphics person, the last couple months, whatever's going on, I haven't done it, but I have my first book is Mediumship Mastery: The Mechanics of Receiving Spirit Communications, the Ultimate Guide. So my new book is called Mediumship Mastery 2: Advanced Techniques That Work. And that's all, basically it's finished, but the cover or the graphics hasn't been done, that type of thing. So it just has to be, otherwise it would be out by now. So hopefully in the
Well,
next couple months.
oh, we're looking forward to seeing that. That's for sure. Any other questions?
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Well, I was just wondering, how did you go about like studying this? What inspired it? Like, how did you come into it? And then did you actually go and do like official, I guess you would say educational platforms, or was it kind of a personal spirit guided study? And yeah, how did you get in?
Well, I've always been, really open to the spirit world since I was little. I mean, it's pretty normal. I mean, for people to be open to the spirit world when you're little. So my mom's dad talked to me when I was like about 2, about that age, and I was always pretty open to it. And then I got into meditation and things like that, and I really was pretty drawn to mediumship. I go into detail about all that, but in terms of studying for it, I mean, once you get into it, you really can't get out of it. So certainly on an individual, personal level, there's a lot of stuff you can kind of do on your own. On the other hand, just like anything, I mean, you could have like natural artistic ability, but if you go to classes that are formally taught by someone who's qualified and experienced, well, and a structured educational approach, you're really going to get pretty good, aren't you? Just like someone's a Renaissance master, well, they apprenticed for years with other people. So I'm a student of mediumship. I'm still a student. I'm still learning. I'm still struggling with it, and you can always get better. you can always work, but it's one of these things where there are some places where you can just go on a Saturday, you pay some money, and then you get your PhD at the end. Does anyone have a PhD that way? I mean, you can mail away for your high school diploma. Does anyone do that? Remember, I think they have like the ads in the back of comic books years ago. But really,
Yes.
it's one of these things where, I mean, you can spend a lot of money for some of these courses, which are just basically ways of making money for the people running them. Education is really, 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 really good, but you can't buy mediumship. It's something that's there and it has to be cultivated. But the more training, the better, the more hands-on type work, and certainly intellectually, reading books and studying it is really important too. Does that all make sense?
Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Get your PhD on a Saturday, mail away for your, ordination, do it online, or, there's all these gimmicks that people like stuff that's really, that's not the way it should be. You want substance.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Stephen, what we're doing today is something that I wouldn't have believed 9 months ago we would be doing. I just wondered if you had any experience of, not any experience, I'm sure you got lots of experience, but what your experience is of, in a sense, coming out of the traditional bricks and mortar churches into this sort of new medium, new to me anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. About 2.5 years ago, it must have been. Someone was telling me, "Oh, you need to do online courses," and I remember there was a number of people I knew I'd seen doing this. I knew one woman who was doing this, and I really just wasn't attracted to the idea at all. But I said, "I'll try to do it." So she's saying, "Oh, you need to use Zoom." So I signed. I paid for a subscription for Zoom, and I started teaching some classes, and that was kind of neat. It took me, gosh, a couple sessions just to kind of figure out how to use it. It wasn't, the whole flow was different, whole energy is different, which I really don't like compared to what you have, in person. Now, since everything, I was in the UK in February, and right when all this stuff was happening, then I was in Florida, and it just got really, really, really bad. And every single thing that I had scheduled in person was canceled or it was switched to online. So everything that I've been doing, as I think with everybody, is online right now.
Yeah.
Except in New Zealand where there's no virus situation, which is why I'm here for the next couple months. But with, I really, it's nice. What's good about online is, you could be having a class, someone can they don't have to commute to it. They don't have to travel to it. They can go to bed in the next room, maybe the same room if that's where their computer is, that type of thing. But you can't hold someone's hand online.
Yeah, I know.
It's really, it's different. Also, in terms of the chemistry, now that they can work with you with your development, but a lot of with development, you need to have people there with the actual chemistry. They blend the energies and they work with people. You're not going to get that online the same type of way. Now you can learn how to tune in and bring stuff through, but it's not the same thing in terms of development and everything. And hopefully things will go back to the way they have been as we go ahead.
I just was wondering, Malcolm, if you'd like to speak a bit to the reading that Stephen gave to you. It's very interesting. I think that Malcolm and I were sort of trained, and a few people here have been sort of trained at the SNU and at
Right,
Finley
SNU
College,
approach.
and they really kind of they really sort of stress a more interactive type mediumship reading, whereas your style seemed to me much more of an American style, where you're basically doing your mediumship and then leaving it with the people. And I just love the fact that on our church that we had to experience all these different types of mediumship, and it's not that one's better than another. It's whatever works best for you, of course. But Malcolm, I was just wondering if you could give some validation for Stephen.
Well, I can, but I kind of like to address this point you just made too, because it's pretty well established, first of all, that I am much nearer 100 than I am 0. So I'm a pretty old person. And this has all been an incredible challenge, kind of coming into the new technology era. But I have to say, in all humility, that I've learned a hell of a lot in the last 9 months, really much more than I thought I would learn. And having been to Stansted, Arthur Findlay College in Stansted many times, I thought, gee, I'm doing pretty good because I've learned all this stuff from Stansted. But here, because of the format, and I think it's funny that you're saying, oh, I'm actually not there, I'm in New Zealand. Any of us could be anywhere, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
And so what I think I've learned is that all the stuff I thought I knew, I guess I did know, but I'm very much unclear how important it is now. Because I think there is an evolution even to mediumship, where it's becoming a little softer, a little bit more user friendly, a little kinder. I'm not embarrassed to say, I'm delighted to say we talk a lot about love in our service and in what we do. You talked about love in your address too. So
Yeah.
your mediumship, it covered quite a lot of people. But the dominant figure, as it normally would be, is my dad. He always was dominant, and a lot of what you said referred to him. And even sitting in the armchair, he had a sort of chair that was his chair, and nobody in their right mind would sit in it if he was around. So the sort of authoritarianism that you were talking about was very appropriate. Um, my brain isn't what it used to be, so I can't remember everything you said, but I certainly had the sense of my dad being there. And there's a photograph of him at home, or there was when I was growing up, of him wearing a uniform. So I can relate to so much of what you said. But it's just what I got from you was the sense of him still being that sort of authoritarian figure, and so thank you. It was
Yeah, well,
great.
God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Just some background, Stephen. In our services and in the open mic here, we've really been encouraging people to share their messages and their gifts, whatever they may be, from spirit. So we've had people do numerology, we've had people do sort of psychic readings with cards, we've had various different types of mediumship. And I think what Malcolm's really saying, that I hope this is right, Malcolm, that you and I have sort of become much more open-minded, I think, since we've
Yes.
sort of gone online, and we just realized that spirit works in a
Yeah,
miraculous
well,
many
I
different
can say
ways.
some things too about this. You know, what you were talking about, okay, I work with the Americans. Well, that's because I'm American.
Yes.
But, and, you know, the way I've been trained.
That's okay.
but-
We don't hold it against you.
Well, you should. So what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So anyway, you know, one of the things with mediumship is you can't put it in a box. Now,
Yeah.
American culture, spiritualism is a worldwide movement, or it's spread everywhere, right? It's very big. So there's not one way of doing it. Now, how it's done, what you might typically find in the UK, you know, the SNU approach, it's a bit in a box. I mean, very much in a box. I mean this in a nice way, because there's a lot of emphasis on quality, a lot of emphasis on proving survival, this type of thing. And it works very well if you go back 50 years ago within that cultural context. Now, what I always found in the States, and this is true of Canada too, it's a bit more progressive or out of the box in terms of people, I think, going to the spiritualist churches more into their soul type of growth than what you might typically find in some. I mean, I can think of in the UK in some churches being told, make sure your talk, you know, your address on a Sunday service is only like 5 minutes or only 10 minutes. And then, you know, they want you to work for an hour and there's like 80 people there. Why are they all there? Because they want a message. Now, nothing wrong with wanting a message, but spiritualism, there's a philosophy, and it's way more than just getting the message. It's also way more than just proving survival. You know, guidance comes through from the spirit world and soul direction. Now, that may be way more important than proving that your grandmother is coming through. Does that make sense? You know, it really depends what a person needs.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Well,
that's my own view.
Yeah, I guess my sense of it, Steve, and I'd like to get your take on this, is that I really believe that spiritualism and mediumship and, I don't know, just basic healing really is evolving right now. It's almost like a revolution, if you like, because, you know, it used to be that a medium could give evidence about a person's height or weight or color, and that was sufficient evidence to prove that they actually had the spirit there. But now with the age of the internet, you could do a quick search of somebody and find out all those sort of factual details. So mediumship is becoming so much more a sense of feeling, you know, what that person was feeling, what they were like as a person, and why are they coming through. The message, you know, is to me becoming so much more important than the evidence.
Yeah,
Would you agree with that?
it's the messages. I mean, the way I was taught, I mean, that the emphasis was always more on the message, less on And really, okay, so spiritualism is a worldwide movement, and you have, for example, a lot of spiritualists, they follow the teachings of Allan Kardec, who was a French spiritualist. If we go back into the 1850s and 60s, he wrote 5 classic works. So it's called Spiritism. Same thing, same branch of the same tree. Now, if you go to a Spiritist meeting, and they might have some healing, but it's all about philosophy. It's all about moral growth, becoming a better person. It's spiritualist philosophy, you see. And the way they do it is way more progressive than what you're generally going to find in the Anglo-American type of approach. You know, and for all it's good. I mean, it's really. I mean, I always say that. I mean, I've got 4 kids, and I remember, you know, they're like babies or little, you know, taking them with me and stuff all over the place. Even to Canada, I remember I took them to Calgary one November and all the snow and stuff, you know, in the Rockies. But yeah, you know, spiritualism is a family religion, isn't it? Right? You go to a spiritualist church, it's not a retirement hobby. But a lot of places, this is what it is. It's like a message million. I'm going to go get a message. Emphasis on phenomena. Now, there's a place for all that. But I know, for example, I do a lot of work in the Philippines. Now, you have like thousands of spiritualist centers all over the Philippines. And I mean, most of the mediums I know, you know, they're all like teenagers, they're in their 20s. It's not just this thing where someone does when like the age of 55 is young. You know, it should be something that includes everyone. But you see, if it's just focused on phenomena, people have to go somewhere else to get it. So what you guys are doing with this service is really nice, because there's a lot of emphasis on self-growth and on God and on love. And that's what it really should be. You know, and of course, that's what the teachings of St. Francis are all about. It's all about selfless service over institutionalized religion. So I really like what you're doing. I really resonate with it. We're on the same page.
Thank you. Thank you
Awesome.
for saying that. I appreciate that.
That's great. Any other questions for Stephen?
Yeah, don't be shy.
Go ahead, Gab.
A comment and a question. I'm pretty new at this, and to see how things flow out of you. I mean, how on earth or in heaven, how do you get to that point? Do you
Oh, that's pretty normal. Once you stop, you can't shut up, you know? I mean, you can. I could if I want to. I mean, I could do all this like pausing, you know. Oh, and what does this mean to you? And she was a large lady, wasn't she? Did your mother like to wear an apron? Did she like chocolate chip cookies and bacon? You know, I could ask you, do you know anyone who liked to drink water? Does anyone know someone with the letter E in their name? You know, how many of us do have the letter E in our name? So, you know, when you get the information, you have a connection with the spirit. They won't shut up. I mean, literally. Now, it's the idea is you want to raise your vibration. You want to get yourself out of the way and let them come through. But you see, a lot of times people are, you know, they're not really spontaneous with it, or it can be very restrictive in terms of how people go about doing it, so to speak.
Yeah, your approach, Stephen, is so much more like inspired speaking, really, right? It's like you're just opening up and allowing spirit to come through, and it's almost a stream of consciousness.
It's
approach.
exactly
It's
what
awesome.
it is. That's exactly what it is, Albert. It's with clairvoyance. I mean, I remember as a student, you know, when I first started doing platform work, I would stand on the platform and I might get like literally, you know, 10 things at once or 6 things all at once, followed by another 6 things at once. And we're talking about, you know, smelling, tasting, hearings, you know, all the different psychic senses. And then you have to kind of verbalize it all. Now, I think what happens a lot though is, I mean, I know, for example, with what you might find with the SNU, there's the, you know, very much an indirect type of approach. You know, I'm going to get the person and I've got to get confirmation. Now the problem with that is someone learning it, you know, their analytical mind's involved, plus they're listening to the reaction of what someone's saying. I mean, I was always taught, you know, don't ask questions, just say things as a statement. And I always tell people, just like if you go to the zoo, you don't want to feed the animals, or you go to some national park somewhere, you know, you don't feed the bears, you don't want to feed the medium. You know, there's a tendency, you get a lot of this stuff. You'll see, I used to, remember I taught this one community college in the States once for years, you know, and I had like unlimited copies, and I would have these articles written by skeptics where they would critique mediums. It was like usually these television mediums, and they would go through the person's presentation of mediumship, their demonstration. And, this person asked, they came up with 52 names and only 2 of them were placed, or, they asked 79 questions and they got, so that they would just watch these people work, and all they do is ask questions. Now, if you're skeptical, what are you going to think? You're going to think someone's fishing. No one needs to ask questions other than, does this make sense to you? Or, because obviously, the way I work, I don't always really pause or have periods. So I could say something, you're trying to figure it out and trying to analyze it, and then you miss the next 7 things. So it is a good thing, if the person does, know where you're coming from and understand it. That is important, because that way you can get clarification. Now, the UK type of approach, what you learned at Stansted is it's a demonstration. You're involving everyone. So, the responses helps everyone be engaged who might be present in the church or in the auditorium, which is a bit different type of approach, so to speak, as opposed to more bringing through, shorter greetings or messages for people. It's not that it's wrong or anything. It's just different. But I
Stephen, I was just going to say that it's different, but it isn't necessarily wrong. That's kind of part of what I've felt we've learned in the last 6 months, 8 months, whatever it's been.
There's not one right way. It's just different cultural contexts. But what you're going to be told, if you go to, for example, oh my God, that's just psychic. You're doing a psychic read. Now, I'll tell you this right now. If you're connected to the spirit world, you've got that connection. They're giving you information. Who's giving you that information? Well, some of it, is going to be coming through from higher guides. They work through your spirit team, and it doesn't have to be evidential for it to be mediumship, just describing some spirit. Do you understand? So sometimes people will say stuff, oh, that's just psychic information. That's not medium. Well, it is mediumship. Mediumship's not all just descriptions of someone's grandmother. Any information that comes through a medium from the spirit world is mediumship.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you absolutely on that. It's almost, I've always sort of felt recently is once I sort of open myself up to spirit or set my intention to do a reading, it's, I don't really care if it comes from cards or what's around you, or I just assume that anything that my attention's drawn to that comes to my mind is coming from spirit.
Out, they're giving it to you, and you're really good, you're really connected and everything, and when you're getting something. It's not like it's just, oh, I'm tuning into that person's energy field. You can do that. You can tune into the energy of an environment, the residue energy or energy of an object. But, it's like this, you're in the presence of this power. It's exhilarating. It affects your entire nervous system. Like I say, you won't be able to shut up,
Kind of like you and me in this Q&A, I think. Does anyone else have a question?
All these shy people.
Steve, do you have any personalized message that, just so I can find my way in this? Or I know it's the connection. That's the first and foremost.
Well, the big thing is I think you need to work on, there's a couple areas on a personal level that I think people in a general sense should do. Read as many books about it as possible, even if you don't like to read. intellectually, learn about it, fill your mind with it.
My eyesight is sort of getting,
Yeah. Okay. Well, then
a little more difficult.
But learning about it is really a good thing. Going to, but think, and you want to meditate. You want to spend time developing on your own, sitting in the power, this type of thing. But I think it's really good to be with other people's like mind. When 2 or 3 or more, are gathered in the name of God, we've got that, and you get input from other people. You get ideas from other people. You can ask questions with people who are a bit more experienced, and really try to take as many classes as possible. Study with as many different people. Now, online stuff is good, but I think obviously as it changes and you can go to in-person classes, do that. Do that as much as possible.
Yeah. Okay, I've only been doing online because that's what's presented to me, and I live on an island, and I don't know anyone.
Where are you?
I'm on Whidbey Island.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's hard.
Close to where a lot of us are.
Yeah, that is now. Are you where about? Are you guys in Victoria then, or?
Most of us are on Vancouver Island here. but
Yeah,
not
it's
all. It's
Actually,
just
I don't
there's
know
lots
if
of people here from Sweden today. There's also people here
Yeah,
from
lots of spiritualist centers in Sweden. Sweden's great. You know, Sweden, Norway,
yeah.
Finland has lots of spiritualist centers. It's really nice there. Uh,
But actually, we're from all over the place.
we are.
There's American people here today. There are, well, Whitby Island. My son lives in Whitby Island.
Oh,
I'm
really?
psychic, but I can't tell.
Yeah,
There's
so
one of them?
we have some people from as far away as White Rock. So you know, it's very
But
international.
lots of people are teaching,
Very.
you know, mediumship stuff online. I know, Albert, you have a few classes a week, don't you?
Well, yeah, certainly we've had different circles for different groups, but we're kind of just Tuesday at noon Pacific now, and we have a
Oh,
free
wow.
drop-in circle, and a lot of the
Well,
people here come to that, and we really try to facilitate trying new things, but we also have ability for people if they really want to do one-on-one readings, we do breakout rooms, or if they want to do small group stuff.
yeah, that's really, really good. Because I would just encourage all of you, if you're interested in the development stuff, you know, go to Albert's classes or other mediums. I mean, I'll plug myself as well. You know, I teach a couple classes a week as well. I have a website. I also have a YouTube channel as well, Steve Hermann Medium, which I try to put out at least one educational video on mediumship a week. So please subscribe, because you might find it interesting. But I'm really into the teaching aspect of it as well, you know, which is why I do have my book. And I'm really glad to be able to be here and talk about it as well.
Yeah.
Really
Stephen,
helps
I hope
people.
you'll excuse me. I have got to run. Love you guys. Love all of you. Big
Yep.
hug.
Bless you.
I think this is a really good time to say thank you, Stephen. We really
Yes,
appreciate it. I have a sense that this isn't our last rodeo together, so
No.
perhaps we can do this again sometime in the near
Yeah,
future.
anytime I'd be happy to serve your church. You know,
Oh,
anything I
great.
can do to help. You know, just
Okay.
have to kidnap me.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Well, maybe you and I can talk privately at some point and put together some dates and things. That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And you know, if anyone has questions, get hold of me. You know, I'm happy to help you.
Okay. And if you can't find Stephen's contact me. I'm at alfromcanada@gmail.com. And that's the same as my website. It's just alfromcanada.com. Yeah, so there you go. So check that out. We'll be posting a podcast of this, and then we'll have to also check and see what this looked like on Facebook. So thank you very much, Stephen. We really appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
everybody,
you.
for your time.
Thank
God
you.
bless you.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Stay healthy.
Thanks, Al.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.